Have you ever wondered how creative content like film gets distributed? Apparently, it's not so democratic and transparent. Hi, this is Takatoshi Shibayama, host of the Future Design Podcast. I run a blockchain solutions company, and I'm always searching for new technologies and ideas to improve our lives and the world we live in. Today, I have Ian McKee, CEO of Vuulr, an online marketplace for film distribution. He tells us about a future where any type of film content can reach a global stage by providing equal opportunity for all creators worldwide. So stick around to the end. In the traditional sense of the industry where content creators meet distributors, how is it done traditionally?
So good question. This is a very old industry. So the kind of TV industry itself is nearly 100 years old. But the way that they've done business hasn't changed in the last 100 years, which is it's done face-to-face at trade events called markets. So if you've made a film or you've got a TV show and you want to monetize it, then you have to license it to broadcasters around the world for the right to be able to broadcast it to their audience. And every month there used to be a big trade event somewhere in the world. And basically the industry spent its life flying around the world, staying in hotels, building booths, and having meetings on stands, which made it very slow, very manual, and very expensive. And we're changing that by bringing that all online. It's a surprisingly massive industry. It's valued by Boston Consulting Group at $240 billion a year, growing at 10% CAGR. So a large growing industry that is just starting to go through its digital transformation.
Right. And before, I guess, when movie creators or TV series, any type of content creators meet with these distributors, they get a chance to explain themselves, what they're doing, what the script is all about, and how they want to, provide their message across. And maybe there was some kind of dialogue in between those two parties to understand more about what they're creating and have that chance to really understand each other. Now, how does the online platform substitute for that kind of human and human interface?
So I think probably it's worth remembering that there are probably three key stages that a film will go through before it's kind of seen by an audience. The first is when you've got the idea for a film and it's pitched in like 2-line, 3-line kind of concept, and then somebody likes it and will fund that idea to go into development. And so that's the first stage. At the end of that development, you've basically got what's called the Bible, but it's effectively a business plan for the film. The shoot schedule, the budget, idea about the cast and the crew, where you're going to shoot, locations, all of that information is captured in the Bible. And that Bible then is what gets taken out to be pitched for investment so that people can raise the money to go out and produce the film. Then they go, once they raise the money, they go into production, they shoot the content, they go into post, and then at that point, when post is finished, you've got a piece of finished content. So we start at that point when the content is a piece of finished content. And at this point, you put all the money into creating the product, and now you need to be able to license that out. And that's the function. And at that point, there doesn't need to be quite so much human interaction because there's a trailer, which is designed to kind of give you a taste of what the product is. And our platform also allows the seller to load the screener. So screener might be a watermarked version or a reduced resolution version, but of the whole piece of content, so that the buyer can search based on the metadata and the attributes and the keywords, shortlist, drill into a title, look at the poster, look at the cast, look at the crew, watch the trailer, decide they like the trailer, decide to watch the screener so that they can look at that. And at the end of the day, content stands or falls based on the quality of the content. Doesn't matter where it's come from, who it's come from, whether it's distributed by a company that has a lot of distribution muscle or whether it's a first-time filmmaker. So one of the things that we're very passionate about is democratizing the access to distribution so that good content can float to the top, be seen by broadcasters, bought by broadcasters, and shown to us as the audience, and can have average and poor content kind of will sink to the bottom, and hopefully we don't have to see that on TV so much anymore.
And what has created this barrier for this industry not to have a digital platform to make this happen? Because, as you said, it's a very old industry. Maybe they were really stuck in their old ways, or maybe there were other barriers that made coming online and meeting content creators to the distributors made it really difficult for them to make this digital transition to happen.
Hmm. I thought long and hard about this. Why is it like it is? And I guess my personal opinion is this. So first of all, this industry has been absolutely fabulously profitable up until yesterday. And the reason is that TV stations were a government granted monopoly, right? Every government would grant a limited number of TV stations. And that meant that they had a monopoly access to eyeballs that advertisers wanted to pay for, which means they could charge whatever they liked. So TV stations were very profitable, and that means that they could pay very high prices for content, which means that the whole value chain was exceedingly profitable. And when you've got a profitable business, the argument of why do we need to change? It's not broken. So one of the reasons they haven't changed is because up until yesterday, they were really, really profitable. But a few things have happened that have kind of upset that apple cart. And it's all tech driven. And the thing that really upset that apple cart now is that you can deliver video streams, not just over an antenna and not just over a coaxial as a pay TV into a set-top box, but you can deliver it over the internet. So all of a sudden, entertainment becomes an internet-delivered product. And that has meant that there is the rise of the global broadcaster, Netflix, Amazon, some of these other guys, who are doing what broadcasters have never been able to do before, which is to address the global market. And of course, that gives them economies of scale. And that's changing that whole equation. Again, also going from linear with advert breaks to video on demand paid by subscription has also changed that equation. And all of that means that, for the last 100 years, it hasn't had to change. But since just a few years ago, there's been, an increasing impetus to change. And of course, COVID has just put that on fast forward. Standing in a booth or in one of the cafes outside to do your business just isn't possible anymore. So everybody is being forced to find kind of digital ways of doing that. That's kind of tilted the landscape in our favor a little bit.
Right. But still, Netflix and all the other streaming companies also have a criteria on what kind of shows they can put on to their website or the streaming service. It's not like YouTube where or the freemium version of YouTube where any content creator can put their product onto YouTube for free and distribute it widely for free. You still have to meet the judgments of Netflix and the likes to get it onto the streaming site. So it's not a complete democratization, even if there is streaming. So you still have to fight against other content creators to get their distribution out there. So in terms of like trying to get your product in front of the other competitor, you still need to do a lot of legwork to get your video to be shown. So is there a way that they're actually doing this? Maybe it could be online, or maybe it could be on a human to human type of basis.
Yes. So the whether you're a acquisition person for a free-to-air channel or an acquisition person for a pay TV channel, or you're the acquisitions person for Netflix or Amazon, it is your role to search for content and to then evaluate it and then to negotiate the best possible price to acquire the rights for that content. So it's a buying function for each of these organizations. And if you're a content creator, your first challenge is actually to get your content in front of these people. And if you're a content creator that isn't in one of the big kind of media capitals of the world, like Los Angeles or London or some of these other places, but you came from somewhere a little bit unusual like Papua New Guinea or Iceland, or you would have a really hard job to get your content in front of the buyer to even have a look at it. Um, if you're a new content creator, you would have a very hard job to get a distributor to take you on the books, and they might charge upfront fees just to rep your film with no guarantee of getting any returns at all. But without paying that, you had no chance of getting your film in front of the guys at any of these broadcasts. It's free for your TV content. It's free for you to register on Vuulr. It's free for you to list your content on Vuulr. We don't charge to list. And then we use our own marketing techniques to market content to buyers and try and get a deal. So our interests are directly aligned with the content seller's interest, because until they make money, we don't make money. So they know that we're working hard to try and get their content sold, and that we do that all around the world globally. So we can give them global reach and get their content put in front of broadcasters in all of the 249 countries in the world, which they have no other way of doing through any other means.
And bringing on these distribution giants onto your platform seems like a very, very difficult task. You have to negotiate with them and spark their interest on getting their business or their eyes coming into your online marketplace for content. What was your journey to getting different types of distribution companies to register to your marketplace?
Yeah, so we really had to go through. So spinning up a marketplace is really a three-phase process. So the first thing that you need to do is to put some stock on the shelves. So the first phase of our marketing program was to go out to the people with the films, with the TV shows, and say, please, although it's free, take the time and effort to come and list your content on our platform. How many buyers they would say? Well, none at the moment. So that's always, the 0 to 1 is the hardest step in the whole process. So, but we managed to do that. We got some good content on board. Then we have to start gently marketing out to buyers to get the buyers to come and register on the platform so that they can understand what the platform is all about. And then once we've got enough buyers, then we start matching content to buyers and do the kind of marketing of the content to the buyers. And we're really just kind of into that phase at the moment. So where we stand at the moment is that we've got about 5,000 registered and approved B2B users. That's split between people who are buyers and people who are sellers. There are some people who wear both hats, and they're both. About 2,000 people whose role it is to buy. So that's one of the bigger databases. We've got nearly 80,000 hours of content listed, which makes us, I think, one of the biggest in the world in terms of content catalogs. So for the buyer, that makes it a great one-stop shop, because they can search a single destination. They can search a big catalog of content from, in about 60 different genres in about 70 different countries and languages. They get an enormous amount of choice and some powerful and easy to use tools to help them zoom in on the kind of content that is going to be appealing to their audience. So that was the journey, really. Is first of all, get the sellers on board, then get the buyers on board. Now start matching sellers to buyers, and we're seeing great growth, great traction in the industry. So we are making it easy. The average time for a deal to close, if you're doing it manually, is about 3 to 4, maybe 5 months. Deals on our platform close in 9 to 10 days. So not only do we make it more convenient, we make it for the buyer, we give them the ability to search much more widely, a much bigger catalog, and see content that they would never get pitched to them in the traditional. And then the kind of streamlining that our platform means that they can get a deal closed in about 10 days rather than taking 3 months of toing and froing over email and WhatsApp messages, phone calls.
Yeah, what is the process of actually getting that that contract done? So you said before it takes 3 to 5 months. Now it's 10 days. How does that work?
How did we do that magic? Okay, so one of the things that when I was researching, the problem space, And one of the things that I noticed was that um, a lot of the people in this industry come from the creative side of the industry, and they they do the business side because they have to, because they need to make money. But these are guys who make money so that they can make films. They don't make films so they can make money, right? They're almost all creatively led. Um, I can't remember if that's left brain or right brain, but it means that they're not very thorough. They're not very specific. And so part of the reason that it takes a long time is because emails go back and says, "Oh, I like your film. Have you got rights availability for this country?" And then the answer has to come back, and it takes a week because somebody's standing on a booth at some trade show till they get to their email. They come back and they say, "What rights type do you want for that country?" Well, I need this rights type. Then what period? Do you want it exclusive? Do you want it non-exclusive? What about holdback? So because it is that interchange of emails is unstructured, and 99.999% of the time, not all the information is in that email at the first pass. It has to go backwards and forwards many, many times till enough information has been exchanged that a quote can be made. And what we do is we simplify that process by capturing everything in one go upfront from the buyer, so that when it's presented to the seller, they've got everything they need so that they can immediately make a decision to say, "That's a decent deal, I'll take it," or "I'll reject it," or "I need to change the terms, the price, the time, the exclusivity," and counter-offer it back. So we streamline that process by removing that kind of, or structuring that exchange of information between buyer and seller so that everything's there. They can just make a decision on the spot.
Yeah, that's very useful actually. Yes, as you say, a lot of the content creators can be using more of their right brain, more creative and thinking about different things other than business, and giving your platform where they streamline all of these so that they can know exactly what are the terms that they're offering before they can then even talk to the potential buyers. Usually facilitates these transactions much faster. I understand that.
Right. If I just jump in just to finish that point, because you're right. Um, we think about it as, and the analogy is it's an e-commerce journey. So, you need to be able to look at the shop window, you need to come in, and then we provide them the ability to check the rights and availability online dynamically, to be able to watch the trailer and watch the screener on demand. They don't need to email and ask for a link. It's all there so that they can go from discovery to being interested to make an offer in a matter of 2, 3, 4 minutes, right? Then they can make an offer. And that's how we can get that whole kind of time compression. And since today, I talk about entertainment being an internet delivered product, it needs to live by the internet's rules. And, very hard to run a business when the front of what you're doing is an internet business, but the back of it is very old school and takes 6 months to kind of negotiate anything. We're helping the industry kind of become more nimble and more agile.
And were there other online marketplaces that were distributing what you're trying to do before you started this business?
Yeah, there was some. It was quite neatly arranged, actually. There was one in the UK and there was one in the US, and there's us here in Asia. Um, the two others, the one in the UK and the one in the US, have a different business model. They follow a subscription business model, kind of the old school classified ads, like the Yellow Pages business model, where if you're a plumber, you have to pay to get a big box on the page and hope that means that you'll get more business. And it's the same business model that they're following, right? If you're a filmmaker, you have to pay to have a space on their site and hope that that's going to get you buyers. So yeah, we don't think that the subscription model really is a good fit for the industry and for a kind of an online or an internet-based business. It's a little bit old school. So we've gone with a kind of pure play marketplace model. So we don't charge a subscription; we just take a 10% commission on when we generate revenue for the seller. So that makes it easier for us to onboard sellers because their sellers know that our interests are aligned. And so that's what's allowed us to grow the marketplace so quickly. So that, in the less than 18 months that we've been live, we've gone from kind of zero startup position to actually having become bigger than them in terms of catalog, in terms of number of buyers, and certainly in terms of deal flow through the platform. So we're the biggest in the market now.
Yeah. And I find that a lot of these marketplaces, or whether it be software businesses, the freemium model has been a winning business model because it requires no upfront cash of any sort, and it's very free to get on and make a transaction. So I think really the model here is that it's free and everybody can start using it. And
Correct.
you started off as a media startup company using blockchain technology. So can you describe to us how blockchain technology kind of is used in your business model?
Yeah, sure. So when we were looking at the problem space, we realized that tracking ownership is one of the kind of really solid use cases for a distributed ledger. And that's a key problem for the industry, is to register and have an immutable record of who owns the rights to a film and to whom have distribution rights been appointed, because it does happen that some people run around the industry saying they've got the right to distribute a film when they perhaps don't. And then also when a transaction has been made that's given, shall we say, exclusive rights for a particular rights type in a particular territory for a particular time period, that also needs to get recorded. And that needs to be kind of a trusted piece of information. So when we saw that problem space, we recognized that that's a great kind of problem space to be using a blockchain solution. That came at the point in time when Singapore government, the IMDA, was running a national challenge, and we submitted our content industry supply chain protocol, which is the kind of the blockchain implementation of how to do this. And we won the national challenge, and we were awarded a grant and got some support from the IMDA, which is great. And where we are now is that we've built out a working proof of concept of how to tokenize that whole transaction. And then we've now taken that out to the industry, and we've shown it to some of the majors like MediaCorp, a national broadcaster here in Singapore, and bigger names like Turner and some of the others. And I think what we them was that they were fascinated by the idea and they saw the future. But I think at this moment, they're still struggling with kind of the leap forward into just traditional kind of AWS-based cloud-based businesses. So the blockchain would have been maybe 5 steps ahead of them. So for the moment, the blockchain element for us is an R&D project where we're continuing to kind of develop and refine the platform. But the actual live trading platform that we've got at the moment is built traditionally with a relational database on AWS. But the intention is that as the industry matures, as the understanding of the blockchain matures, as the technology matures a little bit, there will come a point where we'll be able to pick up the body of data that we have on our AWS instance and move that and deposit that information into our protocol on the blockchain. And that will kickstart that protocol as being the protocol with all of the data about all of the films and all of the sellers. And so we see that we will simply lift up our tech stack, take out to one side, the parts of the relationship database that we no longer need, and fit a blockchain-based protocol underneath to support that. And the idea that we want to get to is almost like a clearinghouse idea. Use the blockchain and infrastructure on top of the blockchain to provide a neutral, trustful, independent clearinghouse for ownership and rights availability transactions. And that in-house organization and companies like Disney are big enough to build their own internal IT can plug into that because it's openly accessible. Other companies that make rights management software will be able to plug into that, so that this clearinghouse becomes the single trusted repository for the industry's data.
So it's almost like a stock exchange for securities, other things, I guess.
Yes, the analogy, it was actually one of the kind of industry people, and he said, well, it's a bit like the global distribution system in the travel industry, right? So that's a little bit older in its architecture, but you've got many sellers of airline seats and hotel rooms, and you've got many providers of airlines and hotel rooms, and that many to many is done by the GDS and Sabre and Galileo and all of those guys. So that's kind of like the analogy that we have in mind, is to build that kind of clearinghouse infrastructure, a GDS infrastructure, but build it on new technology, build it on a distributed ledger technology.
Right. And I remember you guys also did an ICO back in the days in 2017, or it was 18. And how has those tokens been used?
So the tokenomics that we've developed for that is for what we call the Metadata Refinery. So the Metadata Refinery is a platform that we envision building to solve another of the industry's problems, which is that the metadata that the industry needs isn't always available. Let me give an example. If you're a streaming platform and you've got, should we say, 10,000 titles on your platform, and some of those titles are films, in which case you just need, one piece of metadata, but some of those titles are series, they're episodic, right? If you're Breaking Bad or your Friends or one of those, then you might be into 5, 6, 8, 10 seasons. Each season might be 13 or 20 episodes, and for each episode, there's a synopsis of what's happening on that. So you multiply that, and then you realize that a company like Netflix runs in 120 something countries, which I haven't done the maths on that, but let's say that comes down to at least 50 or 60 different languages. When you multiply the number of titles by the number of episodes and the number of countries and the number of languages, you're into a Herculean task to be able to have the information that you need about what's happening on season 7, episode 53 of that thing in Russian, German, Portuguese, Korean, Thai, Vietnamese, all the different languages. So the Metadata Refinery is about using crowdsourcing for fans who are native language speakers to be able to engage to do this work. And the token is what rewards that whole process and is driven and funded from the profit from the marketplace from transacting. So we're still in phase 1 of getting that going, which is getting the marketplace to be successful. And then phase 2 is to build a metadata refinery and get the people involved. So we're on track for delivering that. But clearly it's a sequential thing, and this is how we architect the idea that a successful business infrastructure using kind of fiat currency drives the token, the value of the token, because it's profit from the fiat-based business that's driving the value of the token.
Right. Yeah, I work in the blockchain technology solution space as well, and trying to get the governments or different enterprises to get comfortable with the idea of how to use blockchain is taking a very long time. Of course, a lot of companies are doing POCs and different types of projects and seeing how this works. There are live projects out there that are actually doing it, but getting that over to where a lot of the businesses can be using blockchain, whether it's large enterprises or SMEs, it still seems like a long way ahead. And I love to see companies like yourselves are trying to use this technology to bring forth a new way to preserve data or authenticity of a certain content or creation. And I hope that you continue doing this and keep your business profitable until then. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity to talk to you. Lovely to meet.
Hi, this is your host Takatoshi Shibayama. Thank you for listening all the way to the end. Now, if you enjoyed or disliked the show, please let me know by writing in the comment section. The only way I can improve or add value to you is through your voices. If there are any topics that you would like me to pick up, please also let me know in the comments. I'd love to start chatting with you all. And if you would like to continue watching the show, please subscribe. Thank you.